This page is the vibrant front cover of the July 1997 issue of Famimaga 64 magazine, priced at 590 yen. The cover story is a massive feature and strategy guide for Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire, prominently displayed with an illustration featuring Kyle Katarn, the ominous silhouette of Darth Vader, Boba Fett, stormtroopers, and ATSTS in action, promising an in-depth look at this exciting N64 title. Also highlighted is the start of a Pokemon League serialization. The magazine covers Nintendo 64, Super Famicom, and Game Boy games. Featured titles include the racing game Multi-Racing Championship, the latest Ganbare Goemon title, Mitaka, Tamagotchi Park, and Field of Dreams. A section on pinpoint strategy guides covers Star Fox 64, Jiku Senshi Dual Rock, Powerful Pro Yaku 4, and Bakuso Kyodai Let's Go. On Game Boy, there's also an initial announcement with 3 big news items regarding Pokemon Stadium 2, 64, and a mention of Aero Gauge. This issue appears packed with content for Nintendo enthusiasts of the era. This page is an advertisement for the Mini 4 WDGB Let's Go game for the Game Boy. The ad features artwork of characters from the game, along with a Game Boy Pocket accessory. The game package comes with a special mock purple lightweight hyperspeed gear for the Mini 4 WD model cars. The package itself doubles as a racer's box. There is a lottery for 900 winners to receive a Shining Scorpion kit and aluminum parts. The next page is an advertisement for the Game Boy game, Mini 4 WDGB Let's Go. The advertisement highlights the game's features, including Grand Prix racing, parts customization, and multiplayer capabilities via a link cable. Screenshots show in-game screens for part swapping and course selection. The game features a pit-in system. The next page gives a summary of content within the magazine. It features guides for Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire, Star Fox 64, and Jiku Senshi Turo. There's a guide for Jiku Powerful Pro Yaku 4 that includes success mode tips and passwords, and Mini 4 WDGB Let's Go. There is also content on the 64 Die Sumo. Also included is Pokemon League, Famimaga 64 Ranking Box, Satellaview Station, Reader Gifts, USA Hotline, Technique for Doraemon and Corona, and a new calendar. The page states, Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire will be the cover, and features the cover design by Kazuhiko Hosaka. Also shows a list of staff members. This page is the table of contents for the July 1997 issue of Famimaga 64 magazine. It features articles on several games, including Pocket Monsters, 2 Gold and Silver, as well as 64 Mario Stadium, Aero Gauge, Power League 64, Multi-Racing Championship, Wild Choppers, Bomberman, Ganbare Goemon Neo Momoyama, Bakufu no Odori, and N64 Latest Maker Report. It also includes articles on Funteru and Parlor Mini 6, and a Super Black Bass Pocket 2 article. It also features a piece where the editors participate in the Pokemon League as commentators. This page highlights 7 secrets of Pokemon 2, likely referring to Gold and Silver. It teases new Pokemon, including their evolution stages. The page also reveals that over 250 Pokemon will appear in the game, exceeding the 150 from the previous title. It introduces new Pokemon like Denryu, likely electric type, Yadoking, an evolution of Yadolan, and Donphan, a Pokemon with hard armor. The page also features Hu, described as a legendary Pokemon. Speculation on what Pokemon evolve into and their abilities are also speculated upon. It concludes with a glimpse at game screens and illustrations, encouraging readers to look forward to future developments. The next page is a preview of Pokemon Gold and Silver. It highlights in-game locations and features, asking what the purpose of the 5-story pagoda is. It teases the possibility of time travel, or a connection to a different world. It also covers monster trading using a communication cable between Pokemon Red, Green, Blue, and Gold/Silver. The page details the breeding mechanic, where you can have a male and female Pokemon of the same species to breed. They also introduce the internal clock within the game cartridge. Finally, it showcases a new way to travel a skateboard. This page features a preview of Aero Gauge, a futuristic, high-speed racing game for the Nintendo 64. The game emphasizes a sense of speed and exhilarating racing. The page highlights several key aspects of Aero Gauge, including the colorful courses, the ability to overtake rivals, and the feeling of flying through the air. It also showcases the game's futuristic tracks, with SF-inspired levels and neon-lit cityscapes. Aerogauge offers 5 different types of air cars to select. It features vehicles with different characteristics, such as those that prioritize handling and those that prioritize speed. The vehicles on display are Gezgvex and Fusaha. The next page features Aerogauge, highlighting its driving system, which allows players to drive on walls and ceilings. The game emphasizes free driving, accelerating through the air, and driving along walls. The unique Tube course provides a sense of speed and freedom, with courses that feature walls and ceilings to slide on. The game features a cockpit view, which enhances the sensation of speed and racing, with 2 viewpoint settings. The page also showcases the game's 2-player versus mode. In this mode, the screen is divided into 2 sections for head-to-head competition. The Zero, Groove Rider, Interceptor, and Micha vehicles are displayed. This page is an advertisement for the Japanese Perfect Guide of Star Wars: Shadows of the Empire for the Nintendo 64, with a release date of June 14th. It highlights key features of the game, focusing on the original story and stage composition based on the movie settings. The tagline suggests that reading it might improve your Force skills. The artwork features Dash Rendar's ship, the Outrider, and TIE fighters in an asteroid field. The next page is a feature on Star Wars: Shadows of the Empire for the Nintendo 64, subtitled Game Basics Knowledge, promising to explain the game's points and world in an easy-to-understand way. It covers the game system, focusing on action and shooting, and how they recreate the Star Wars world. The article mentions the story is original, but the battle stages are similar to the movies. These stages can be divided between shooting and action sequences. Depending on the scenario, the gameplay changes between ground-based action, aerial combat, and space battles. The player needs to master different techniques for each to succeed. The space stages feature star destroyers and are optimized for dogfights. The article also describes the action sequences. In the ground-based levels, the player uses weapons to fight, moving through stages and using switches to progress, solving puzzles, and fighting in a variety of terrains and locations. There are also vehicular combat sections, where you can ram enemies. Aerial combat involves using the snowspeeder and firing cables. Space combat features the Outrider in a dogfight with TIE fighters. This Famimaga article analyzes Star Wars: Shadows of the Empire, positioning it as a sequel to The Empire Strikes Back and prequel to Return of Jedi. It traces the events of the original trilogy, emphasizing Dash Rendar's pivotal role as a smuggler-turned-rebel. The article details plot points like the Rebel Alliance's struggle against the Empire, a bounty on Luke Skywalker, Prince Oxizer's machinations, and Dash's various missions, including rescuing Han Solo and infiltrating Imperial vessels. Key scenes, including aerial combat and encounters with bounty hunters, are also highlighted. The next page is a character and vehicle guide for Star Wars: Shadows of the Empire, focusing on the Rebel Alliance. It highlights the daring acts in the demo and battle scenes, emphasizing Dash Rendar's role and machine analysis across the movie trilogy, with a focus on combat points. The page features Dash Rendar, portraying him as a smuggler and mercenary hired by Princess Leia, with mentions of encounters with Luke Skywalker and Han Solo. The Outrider freighter and X-Wing fighter are also showcased. This page is a gameplay and control guide for Dash Rendar. It highlights the various actions possible, like running, jumping, and crouching. It explains the functions of buttons like the 3D stick for movement, a button for jumping, B button for lasers, C button for crouching attacks, R trigger for interacting with switches, and Z trigger for aiming. The guide also gives tips on checking surroundings and performing sneak attacks. The next page is a feature on Star Wars: Shadows of the Empire for the Nintendo 64. The article details weapons and gameplay elements. It starts with combat featuring a couple of weapons and their functions, like the pulse cannon, which is powerful at close range, but the flame weapon is more effective up close. Also, the disruptor weapon is great for room clearing, but players need to watch out for the blast radius. It also details some of the game's features, such as the stunner for temporarily immobilizing enemies. You can use a jetpack, controlled with the escape buttons, to reach new areas. Pay attention to fuel consumption. The article also explains the Seeker missile camera, which is great for taking out enemies, and provides some different camera angles that can be used. This page is a feature on Star Wars: Shadows of the Empire for the Nintendo 64. The article highlights the game's vehicles and how to master them. The game features different vehicles for different stages like speeder bikes, the Outrider, and snowspeeders, as each machine has unique controls and attack methods that players need to master. The article gives specific details on the snowspeeder, highlighting its use on Hoth and how to tangle at walkers using the cable, with instructions on how to initiate the cable launch, manage the distance, and execute the maneuver. The article touches on different camera perspectives, including the cockpit camera, the movie camera, and the fixed camera. The fixed camera is deemed quite difficult for combat. The next page continues the coverage of Star Wars: Shadows of the Empire, focusing on the Outrider, swoops, and various camera perspectives. The Outrider, described as a fast transport fighter, similar to the Millennium Falcon, excels in illegal smuggling. It's well armed with laser cannons and homing missiles, and the article points out to wait until the text, "missile loading," disappears before firing again. You can see a screenshot of the Outrider being used, and the different camera perspectives. The game has a trio of camera angles, including a broad view, a turret view, and a more standard view. The swoops, referred to as small anti-gravity bikes, and are typically used on the planet Tatooine. They are fast, hard to control, and have no weapons. The article suggests that the player should try to knock the enemy off their vehicle and into a wall, for example. Lastly, the page shows some rear camera screenshots and the dash cameras and how the enemy becomes larger on the screen. This page is dedicated to Star Wars: Shadows of the Empire, highlighting the various enemies and vehicles within the game. It dives into the Imperial forces, showcasing a range of characters and machines. The page features characters such as Kexer, Guri, an assassination droid, Coruscant soldiers, and train soldiers. Several droids are featured, including the loader droid, IG drones, and swoop jockey vehicles. The article emphasizes the diverse enemy roster, from basic soldiers to formidable bosses, and notes that the game features enemies not seen in the movies. It also highlights the game's original enemy designs, noting the attention to detail in their graphics. Lastly, it mentions related toys from Hasbro Japan and Sukuda Original, including Micro Machines. The next page spotlights Star Wars: Shadows of the Empire, focusing on the familiar enemies encountered in the game. The page details the Star Destroyer and TIE Fighter, explaining the latter's designation as Twin Ion Engine. Other units like the Wampa, Snowtrooper, TIE Bomber, and Imperial Soldier are showcased. The article notes the attention to detail in character movements, such as the AT's bird-like gait and IG-88's human-like actions. Specific aspects like Boba Fett's cape and Slavid's flight scenes are also highlighted. The game accurately recreates the AT's four-legged walking motion and Stormtroopers' reactions to being shot, including their unique death animations. Finally, Boba Fett's behavior when hit, including his jetpack malfunctioning, is also mentioned. This page is an introduction to the game mode in Star Wars: Shadows of the Empire, and how it differs from a straight clear. It mentions 3 types of vehicles and that you will explore all 10 stages. The article describes levels where Dash Rendar is on foot as action stages, including stages that appeared in the movie. It highlights the importance of finding challenge points hidden throughout the stages, marked by the Rebel Alliance symbol, and that collecting these points increases Dash Rendar's life. It explains how you can select the difficulty level, which impacts enemy strength and item placement, before starting a game. The difficulty options are normal, hard, and expert. There are some screenshots of the game in action, and some screens showing player status. The page also recommends the novel Star Wars: Shadows of the Empire, for those interested in the game's original story. The bottom right corner of the page mentions that Star Wars: Shadows of the Empire Adventure with Dash Rendar will be shown in Famimaga 64 Director's Cut version preview movie. The next page delves into Stage 1 of Star Wars: Shadows of the Empire, specifically the Battle of Hoth. The game puts you in the cockpit of a snowspeeder as you take on the Imperial forces in aerial combat. The goal is to protect Echo Base, while Luke and the Rogue Squadron hold off the enemy. The game features ATSTs, which may not be high in attack power, but are hard to find. You will have to take on Imperial probe droids. The ATATs are the main bosses, which are dangerous because of the rain of lasers from the front. It advises you to focus your attacks and be cautious of being shot down. The page also details how to recreate the movie scene by using the tow cable to trip the ATATs. The strategy is to fly around the legs and entangle them with the cable.
If you approach the ATATs head-on, you are likely to be blasted by lasers.
This page focuses on Stage 2 of Star Wars: Shadows of the Empire, titled Escape from Echo Base, where Dash Rendar needs to activate the emergency power and escape in the Outrider. The page previews gameplay inside the base, where you have to navigate narrow passages and face Imperial soldiers, using your laser to engage them. You'll encounter a Wampa, which you supposedly helped but will attack you anyway, and snowtroopers who are dangerous and attack from behind corners. The base is full of traps, including sections where the floor disappears. The page also features a boss battle against an Atnist, with advice on how to defeat it, mentioning it shoots lasers and is similar to the one from Stage 1. It questions whether Dash Rendar can win without his snowspeeder. It suggests that while the Atnist isn't fast, it's important to move erratically to confuse it. The next page continues with Star Wars: Shadows of the Empire, covering Stage 3, Asteroid Chase. It highlights how Dash Rendar has escaped Echo Base, but is now being pursued by the Empire through an asteroid field. The asteroid field makes using warp drive impossible, forcing players to rely on their piloting skills.
The strategy focuses on utilizing both lasers and missiles to survive.
Homing missiles are effective, but have a reload time after 5 shots. Lasers, while weaker, can be fired continuously. The page advises to destroy incoming asteroids, as they are dangerous. Fast-moving TIE fighters appear in groups and attack. The page warns about TIE bombers that attack from blind spots with powerful bombs, and recommends using lasers to intercept them quickly. There's also mention of Outriders, which are hard to destroy and should be avoided if possible. The stage culminates in an encounter with a Star Destroyer, but it leaves without a fight. The next page dives into Stage 4 of Star Wars: Shadows of the Empire, titled Ord Mantell Junkyard. The story sets up Dash Rendar's mission to locate IG-88, initiated by Luke and Leia, to find Boba Fett and rescue Han Solo. Dash lands in a droid junkyard. The stage involves navigating train cars, jumping between them at high speed to reach IG-88. Failing a jump results in a fall. One section requires quick reactions to avoid being left behind as the train cars move. Players must dodge obstacles and prevent crashing into walls due to incorrect paths. The page highlights dangerous sections where jumping during sharp turns can lead to being swept off course. IG-88 acts as the boss, utilizing irregular movements in the junkyard. He attacks with pulse cannons and lasers, demanding a strong offense. This page continues the coverage of Star Wars: Shadows of the Empire, focusing on Stage 5, Gaul Spaceport. The mission is to defeat Boba Fett in order to rescue Han Solo. The page details the stage, where Dash Rendar infiltrates an Imperial base after leaving the Outrider hidden. It warns about fuel conservation while using the jetpack to navigate. Stormtroopers will be encountered within the base. The player has to use the jetpack to fly around and be careful of the cliffs. The player will use Imperial transports to travel between spaceports. And there's a reappearance of an Atnist encountered in Stage 2. Boba Fett will appear in his Slave 1 fighter as the boss. Boba Fett has powerful weapons and jetpack.
There are images of different weapons to use against him.
Imperial soldiers are positioned at the elevator exits. The next page focuses on Star Wars: Shadows of the Empire, highlighting Stage 6, Mos Eisley and Beggar's Canyon. The goal is to protect Luke from assassins pursuing him on swoop bikes. The game's story involves Luke being targeted on Tatooine for a bounty, with swoop jockeys attempting to eliminate him. Leia enlists Dash Rendar to protect Luke, leading Dash to intercept the enemy swoop bikes.
The stage features challenging elements,
navigating maze-like streets with many right-angle turns, requiring careful speed management, avoiding crashing into walls while pursuing enemy swoop jockeys, avoiding the Sarlacc pit, navigating narrow canyons requiring high speed, facing swoop jockeys, identified as mercenaries rather than Imperial forces, who can be defeated. The page provides tips for navigating these obstacles, such as staying close to walls when pursuing enemies, being cautious of the Sarlacc's open mouth, and maintaining speed through narrow passages. It also warns about the dangers of driving at full speed and crashing. There is also an image of Dash and Luke in the cockpit of a ship, and the description, "I'll leave all of them to one person, even if it's Luke, it's a bit bad. I have to stop something.
This page continues the coverage of Star Wars: Shadows of the Empire, now focusing on Stage 7, titled Imperial Freighter Suprosa. The summary of the stage is that you must infiltrate an Imperial freighter and seize a computer containing classified Imperial military information. The freighter stage involves navigating various areas, including a warehouse with laser traps activated upon opening the door, rooms filled with surveillance droids, and stormtrooper sleeping quarters. There are puzzle elements involving switches to open doors and traps, like rotating floors and walls, requiring careful navigation. A boss encounter awaits with a loader droid that engages in close combat. The page suggests that it is heavily armored and difficult to defeat in close quarters, recommending avoiding direct confrontation. It describes how the loader droid uses long punches, and states that dodging them is difficult. The next page is an advertisement for Star Fox 64, known as Lylat Wars in Europe and Australia. Released in Japan 1 month prior, it features a strategy guide focusing on unlocking 4 hidden modes by earning medals. These modes include Versus Tank Mode with Landmaster Battles, Extra Mode with increased difficulty, a Sound Extra Mode, and Versus Pilot Mode featuring white-knuckle combat. The page also highlights Arwing vs. Landmaster vs. Pilot matches, and ground-based battles on locations like the Cornelia base. The next page provides a strategy guide for unlocking hidden modes in Star Fox 64, known as Lylat Wars in Europe and Australia. It details 4 modes: Sound Extra Mode, allowing players to listen to the game's music tracks; Extra Mode, a harder difficulty; Versus Pilot Mode, where Fox fights other pilots; and Landmaster battles on stages like the Cornelia base. Tips are given for earning medals in each stage, which is essential for unlocking these modes. The guide mentions the need to master dogfights and ground battles. The guide shows the levels: Area 6, Venom 2, Venom 1, Zones, Sector Z, Bulls, Aquas, Solar, Macbeth, Titania, Sector Y, Katarina, Sector X, Ficina, Cornea, and Meteo. The page emphasizes the requirements for completing missions and obtaining medals, including the survival of teammates and reaching the target hit count. This page focuses on strategy and tips for the Star Fox 64 game, covering various aspects of gameplay. The Planet Corneria section advises players to rescue Falco and navigate the hidden route, emphasizing smart bombs. It also suggests targeting robots hidden among buildings. The Sector Y section deals with rescuing Falco and flying through rock arches. Aquas recommends achieving over 100 enemy takedowns. The section advises players to use bombs and charge shots effectively to clear enemies, aiming for a high hit count and completing missions. Tips are also given for tackling enemies and structures, such as missile attacks and massive creatures. Different combat scenarios are also featured, like how to engage missile-launching enemies, boss battles, and strategies for the upper routes. The next page features a guide for the hidden mode in Star Fox 64, giving strategies for various levels. For the Asteroid Belt Meteo level, it suggests maneuvering through the warp rings and earning medals. The guide shows a sequence of directions to navigate the rings effectively. The guide also mentions achieving a hit count of 200 in the warp zone by destroying incoming asteroids and enemies. It advises players to use smart bombs on formations of enemies appearing before the large white vortex line, and that hitting over 150 enemies can be achieved in this area. Corneria Military Outpost Base section shows that the goal is to destroy the core of the disk within the time limit. The guide recommends destroying the 4 hatches on the disk and earning a hit count of 150, and destroying a hatch earns 5 hits. It suggests approaching the disk closely after it appears and using rapid turns to take down a large number of enemies, destroying it in 1 minute to complete the mission. Solar section instructs players on how to evade fire and magma waves from the Firebirds, and to use homing bombs to eliminate them, achieving 100 hits to earn a medal. The next page provides strategies for the Star Fox 64 level Corneria Military Outpost Base, where the player must defend the base and defeat Starwolf. It highlights the importance of strengthening the laser before the battle. For the Asteroid Field Ficina level, the guide advises players to target Starwolf early for bonus hits, suggesting that achieving a 2-stage laser upgrade in Meteo is essential. The guide also mentions rescuing teammates, with Slippy constantly needing assistance. The Sector X stage involves destroying a boss in 2 phases,
and recommends taking the left fork to open 4 doors. It advises using smart bombs and lasers effectively in these areas. The Macbeth section focuses on quickly destroying bosses in 2 stages, with Slippy's appearance marking the end of the level, and also gives tips for using homing bombs at the start of the stage and throughout to clear enemies and obstacles. This Star Fox 64 guide provides hidden mode strategies for 3 stages. Venom Zone requires destroying all 36 searchlights, using smart bombs and homing missiles, and targeting the Sea Dragon and Water Wheel. The Venom Fleet Supply Base mission involves destroying all 8 safety devices with lasers. Finally, on Forbidden Planet Titania, players must rescue Slippy, avoid mines, and defeat flying enemies with homing missiles. Strategies for the Giant Lifeform and Train finale also involve homing missiles, lasers, and smart bombs, with specific badge rewards for completing certain objectives. The next page focuses on strategies for Area 6 in Star Fox 64. To beat this sector, you need to destroy all 6 missiles. The page advises you to use homing bombs to destroy multiple missiles at once. The guide also notes that destroying floating objects earns extra hits, and recommends prioritizing cores in the stage to earn more hits. It also mentions that if allies are being chased, it's best to quickly rescue them. The guide includes advice for dealing with large missiles, and recommends stocking up on smart bombs before arriving at Area 6. The page also offers character-specific tips from Slippy, Peppy, and Falco. The next page details strategies for Star Fox 64's hidden mode, focusing on Venom 1 and Venom 2 stages. For Venom 1, the guide advises following Falco's lead and direction. The route splits numerous times, influencing the difficulty. Sticking to the left initially, then always to the right, is considered safer. It highlights Andrasa's weak points. It instructs you to attack the eyes with lasers, then destroy the exposed hands, and finally, the face. Rescuing your wingmen is also crucial for success. For Venom 2, the guide recommends a specific route: left, right, right, to collect 3 shield rings and 2 laser upgrades. If you take the first split right, then left, you will be rewarded with 1-up. In the Andros battle, you must pull up and boost, dodge the eyeballs, and target the brain's weak spot with lasers. The page also includes advice for quickly defeating Starwolf to earn bonus hits. This strategy involves using a homing bomb attack. This page promotes Multi-Racing Championship for the Nintendo 64. It promises a complete look at the game from modes to cars and courses. The game has Championship and Time Trial modes. In Championship, players compete against 9 AI opponents. In Time Trial, players must master the track alone, competing against their own ghost data. The tagline is, "Master the course." The next page is an advert for Multi-Racing Championship on Nintendo 64, advertising the newest version. The advert highlights one-on-one high-speed battles with rival racers, and the promise of immersive driving with the Vibration Pack. The game features split-screen multiplayer. The text highlights that crashing leads to strong vibrations in the controller, and the depictions of the dirt course's bumps. The next page features the game Multi-Racing Championship. It explains how to tune your car for the best performance. It showcases the 8 cars available in the game across all modes, including Championship, Time Trial, and Versus Races. The game allows for customized setups, including adjusting the engine, tires, and suspension to suit your driving style. It also details the 3 car types: FF, front engine, front-wheel drive; RR, rear engine, rear-wheel drive; and 4WD, four-wheel drive, explaining their characteristics and how they affect handling and drifting. This page focuses on Multi-Racing Championship, detailing the car tuning and customization options available. The page explains how you can create your own original machine by adjusting various settings. 7 customizable parts are highlighted: aero, suspension, steering, gear, brakes, tires, and transmission. The page gives brief descriptions of how each part affects the car's performance, such as how aero affects speed and cornering, or how adjusting the brakes changes the stopping distance. There is also a section discussing hidden machines within the game. The page hints that players might find secret cars hidden in the garage, behind shutters. It suggests that if you find a garage with closed shutters, there might be something special hidden inside. It questions what names are on the sign to find the hidden machines in the garage. The page displays screenshots of several vehicles: the Dog/V, Meteora RSR, Montana's 4, and Bronx GTV Evoluzione, each with information regarding their engine and drive configuration.
The next page, titled Course and Driving, focuses on course layouts and driving techniques in multi-racing championship. It highlights the game's blend of realistic rally racing with original course designs, including branching paths and diverse terrains like on-road, off-road, asphalt, dirt, and snow. The page emphasizes the importance of adapting to changing road conditions and mastering techniques like drifting, and shows the variety of corners encountered, from scurves and hairpins to steep inclines. It offers tips on how to handle each situation, such as adjusting steering and braking, and warns that some course elements are not visible until the last moment, requiring quick reactions. This page details driving techniques in multi-racing championship, focusing on adapting to different road surfaces and car types. It breaks down techniques like drifting, cornering, and straight-line racing, highlighting the importance of controlling the car's attitude and speed. The page offers advice on how to handle various corners, utilizing drifting and countersteering. It also touches on on-road racing techniques, emphasizing smooth cornering and speed control. Additionally, the page features a navigator who provides audio cues in English, enhancing the sense of realism. The driver's viewpoint offers a realistic cockpit perspective to fully experience the gameplay. The next page is a full-page advert for Wild Choppers on the N64. The game promises intense action and the latest in mission content, vehicle handling, and system enhancements. The ad highlights preparation for deployment, emphasizing 3 key elements: objective destruction, rescuing allies from enemy territory, and thoroughly destroying all enemies and equipment. The ad also includes screenshots of gameplay, showcasing various missions and scenarios. This page is a detailed instruction guide for Wild Choppers on the N64. It highlights the game's control scheme, emphasizing the use of the D-pad for movement and the 3D stick for direction. Combining these controls allows for versatile maneuvers, including 360-degree turns. The guide also points out that the game automatically maintains altitude and avoids terrain obstacles. Offensive tactics are covered, such as attacking enemies from behind by rotating and concentrating fire on ground targets. The ad boasts that players can move freely in 360 degrees, fulfilling their every whim within the game. Quote, the next page is an in-depth look at Wild Choppers, focusing on how to effectively equip special weapons and use available resources. It explains that each of the 8 helicopters has unique weapon loadouts, affecting speed, armor, Vulcan cannon strength, acceleration, and rotation. Players should carefully select a helicopter that suits their playstyle. You can buy 8 types of special weapons with prize money, but it's important to conserve ammunition. Tips include destroying enemy structures and containers to find items that can strengthen or repair your chopper. You can find bonus, fuel, shield, and power-up items. Always destroy containers, and keep a lookout for traps that fire Vulcan cannons. The page highlights Pilot Johnny and his Hard Bull unit, noting its speed advantage but weaker armor. Players can choose weapons like homing clusters and equip standard Vulcan cannons. The guide explains that while Vulcan cannons are weak, they have unlimited ammo. The page also includes a screenshot of the mission map for Mission 3, tasking you with protecting the President's helicopter and eliminating any escaping enemy aircraft. This page is a comprehensive strategy guide for Star Fox 64. The page boasts a complete map strategy, indicating how to achieve all medals in the game. It highlights optimal R-wing maneuvers and item locations. The page claims, and Maros will turn blue with fear when you see this guide, showcasing advanced techniques and special stage medal acquisition. Featured on the page is cover art of the game. The publication date is listed as May 27th, with a price of 800 yen. Included is a blurb stating that with this strategy, you can easily find enemy patterns, route branches, and that the true ending will be within reach. Also pictured is the front cover of Famimaga 64, which also features Star Fox 64, Blastozer, and Jiku Senshi Turailu. This page is an ad for Enix's N64 title, Yuk Yuk, Troublemakers. The ad emphasizes the game's comical action and fliffly gameplay. It notes that the release date has been delayed by a month, but assures players that development is progressing smoothly. The review also mentions that the fliffly action allows players to run, grab, and swing objects, making for unique gameplay and a sense of freedom. The ad features screenshots of the game, showing off its quirky characters, enemies, and environments, while highlighting the game's puzzle-solving elements and the ability to compete for clear times. The page shows off its fast-paced gameplay,
with the ability to achieve a rank A. The next page is a maker's report on the game, Mischief Makers. This page focuses on the quirky characters, items, and adventures found within the game. It highlights features like riding a three-wheeled vehicle, fighting alongside characters like King Bubba, and the unique Flifly action that allows players to grab and swing objects. The reviewer expresses affection for Marina riding on the Nene Nene Ko creature. Another highlight is the ability to use Banandoro to jump over obstacles. The three-wheeled vehicle is described as allowing for rodeo-like movements. The page then describes the character Chappie, who comes to Marina's rescue when she's in trouble, enabling the player to progress through otherwise impassable stages with unique moves. The final section highlights minigames. These minigames include 100 meters, 200 meters, 400 meters races, as well as Sansu de Pon, an obstacle race, Tamer, ball toss, and long jump. There's also a description of the 100 meters dash and the importance of listening to Walbich's rules before competing. This page advertises the game Mahjong Aruki Classic for the N64, a game based on the novel Mahjong Aruki by Tetsuya Asada. It focuses on the game's story mode, which is nearing completion. The page explains that the game is divided into two parts, the story and the Mahjong gameplay. The story follows a young protagonist in post-war Tokyo who gets involved with gamblers and the Yakuza. The illustrations are by Takashi Inoue. The gameplay allows the player to play as the protagonist or other characters in Mahjong matches. You can progress through the story by winning games. One of the characters you encounter is Doseiken, and there is a screenshot that shows gameplay. It includes a shot of the character Joshu Tora, who teaches him how to gamble. Also shows a scene where the protagonist is beaten badly. The game will be released on August 1st, and the price is 8,900 yen. This page is an article focusing on the N64 version of Doom 64, highlighting its unique features. It mentions the game's action genre and pending release date, and price and support for the controller pack for saved games. Screenshots showcase various aspects of the game, including dark environments, transparent enemies, and smooth graphics. The game features different levels and a super shotgun, which is powerful but has limited ammo. It describes a plot where the player battles monsters in a near-future Martian base, emphasizing exploration and weapon acquisition. The game includes traps and puzzles that the player must overcome, as well as a map function, which allows instant movement in a 3D environment, a feature strengthened from the PC version. It also details weapon mechanics, such as the rocket launcher and chainsaw. Triangular switch on the wall, which is important for moving forward in the game. The next page is a full-page advert for Ace Cook Instant Noodles, offering a Honkin' IKA Squid keychain as a prize for 50,000 winners. To enter, you need to cut out the Atari Win mark from the noodle packet and send it in with your details to the specified address. The ad features a cartoon policeman character and the slogan, "If you find Atari in the packet, you'll get it." The next page is a strategy guide for Turok, Dinosaur Hunter on the Nintendo 64. It promises to provide in-depth maps and gameplay tips to guide players through the adventure, focusing on the game's midsection, including the mysteries and techniques needed to navigate hidden paths. The guide covers Worlds 3 and 4, Ancient City, and Ruins, respectively, highlighting enemy strength and complex map design. Key points for progressing include detailed exploration, utilizing techniques such as the diagonal jump, battle techniques, and encouraging players to experiment with different approaches. It emphasizes finding hidden items and weapons and using cover to avoid enemy fire. It also advises players to interact with anything that looks interesting. This page features a strategy guide for World 3, the Ancient City, in Turok, Dinosaur Hunter. It details the complex routes to the boss, noting the shift from forests to stone cities with artificial structures. Key items like the Chrono Piece and Time-Space Stone are essential, with a list of weapons, including the Auto Magnum, shotgun, assault rifle, and grenade launcher. Auxiliary items like the Time-Space Shield and Tech Armor are also highlighted. The guide offers tips for navigating narrow passages and directs players to an area where they can acquire the R item, the backpack, which increases the number of bullets you can hold. It also explains the function of chrono points, save points, and chrono gates, and encourages players to explore thoroughly and to not cry if they die as they can resurrect at a chrono point. Finally, it directs players to submerge themselves in water, to find a way to continue, and to be aware of enemies. The next page details strategies for navigating through sections of the ancient city in Turok. Dinosaur Hunter, focusing on using warp points to reach rooftops and acquire items. It mentions that after warping to a rooftop, players can find the time-space stone by heading to the left side of the elevated platform. The page highlights ascending a conveniently placed palm tree to reach an entrance and find the time-space shield. Additionally, it advises jumping between rooftops to collect items and defeating specific enemies guarding items within the two buildings, recommending players to use the weapon they acquire on their arm that shoots fireballs to make this easier. And it also mentions that they should be aware of the enemy's fire attacks from their arm weapons and dodge them. Finally, it provides tips for long jumps, using the diagonal jump to clear greater distances, and defeating enemies on narrow stone pillars to obtain crucial items. And it mentions that diagonal jumps may fail in the beginning, and it will take practice. This page focuses on strategy for navigating specific sections of the ancient city in Turok. Dinosaur Hunter. The page details navigating a section to the building tops and what you need to do on top of the buildings. They advise to get the +2/5 health item, and they advise to defeat the 2 biased enemies, to open doors, and to get the worm-like enemies. It gives instructions on what to do at the end of a dead end that has a large stone slab, advising to look around for buildings that are guarded by grunts, and to hit the floor switch to open the way to the next area. It also says that the slab will reveal stairs going down. The page mentions finding hidden water-filled rooms with submerged pathways, and to continue along these pathways. It provides instructions on how to open locked doors, and mentions that some building entrances can only be accessed from underground. Also in this area, you can find the tech armor by defeating enemies and hitting the switch. The next page provides strategy tips for Turok. Dinosaur Hunter, focusing on the ancient city world. It highlights areas like the Rambo area, where enemies are waiting in water-filled trenches, and how to approach them. The page also covers platforming challenges, such as the rising pillars and stone pillars over a pit, as well as finding switches that open doors with closed grates. The map labeled D is referenced in the page. The walkthrough includes details on acquiring a chrono piece located on a high cliff, and strategies for dealing with enemies among a series of stone pillars, advising to use rapid-fire weapons due to the limited space. The bottom section introduces Hunter, a boss character in World 3, suggesting players to use explosive weapons against the jeeps and rapid-fire weapons against Hunter himself, and mentions that the pulse rifle is on hand. This page provides strategy tips for World 4 of Turok. Dinosaur Hunter, focusing on puzzle solving and exploration in the ancient city. The guide emphasizes careful movement and using your head to solve the puzzles. The page highlights a thrilling cliff dive, warning about narrow ledges and potential falls. There's also advice on navigating underwater caves, suggesting to avoid enemies as much as possible, as you can only use a knife in the water. The maps guide the player towards the chrono pieces and item locations, mentioning the need for diagonal jumps, naname jumps, to reach certain areas. It points out a one-way warp and offers tips for getting an item on a cliff, recommending climbing up and dropping down to collect it. The page mentions the first item you obtain is a backpack, followed by a weapon. The next page provides a strategy guide for Turok. Dinosaur Hunter, specifically for navigating the time traveler stage. It features maps of various areas, including areas marked AR, GR, GT, T, and B, plus maps labeled C, A, E, and F. The guide offers tips on traversing floating platforms, activating switches to raise pillars, and dealing with moving stone statues. The page highlights a puzzle involving warp points, warning of potential pitfalls into lava pools, and advises carefully exploring the area to find the correct path. Tips are also given on fighting 6 stone statues and getting to the chrono pieces. Quote, this page continues the Turok Dinosaur Hunter Strategy Guide, focusing on the time traveler stage. It provides maps of areas D and E, along with tips on navigating tricky sections. The guide advises on dealing with swinging rocks, guarding enemies near the time-space stone, and encountering various enemies like lizards, insects, and beasts. Special attention is given to navigating a maze and battling 2 enemies, utilizing the environment for cover. The guide also warns of powerful magic attacks from enemies, advising players to use pillars for cover and aim carefully. The page highlights the importance of sidestepping to avoid fire attacks and collecting power arrows, and also points out a one-way warp from Map Circa. The next page provides further strategy for Turok, Dinosaur Hunter, specifically for World 4. The guide gives advice on traversing areas with varying level stone pillars, swimming up vertical water columns, and identifying hidden passages by running into walls. The guide emphasizes that players must discover the hidden passage to continue further into the level. The page also features a map of the area with diagrams of key locations, like the locations for items or one-way warps, along with images of in-game areas like a chamber filled with stone pillars, and encourages players to look up to find bonus life items and collectibles. The next page gives advice for success in Jikyu Powerful Pro Yakyu, focusing on how to develop strong players. It features tips from Uchimoto coach and player Yabe, emphasizing the importance of balancing a player's stats and managing relationships with coaches and teammates. The page includes screenshots, tables showing how different coaches evaluate players, and tables showing evaluation values, providing insight into how to improve a player's performance. It details methods for scouting potential players, understanding contract renewals, and getting promoted to the major league, all key aspects of the game. The next page delves into creating all-around a-level players in Jikyu Powerful Pro Yakyu 4. It highlights tips for improving a player's abilities year by year, emphasizing the importance of batting practice and working with coaches. Year 1 focuses on Coach Hanada's evaluation, stressing the importance of continuous batting practice to gain experience, which can then be used to increase skills like arm strength and defense. In the first year, ignore power and meet cursor, and focus on raising Coach Hanada's evaluation. Year 2 focuses on coaches and managers' evaluation, aiming to increase power, and using the running drills to boost evaluation and earn experience points. In Year 3, it discusses how to increase your stats to the max and how to approach contract renewals, and if the manager's evaluation is low, focus on running drills to get back in shape. The page also showcases successful player builds from various players. There's Uramesh, with a focus on power and making sure he got good at hitting, and the importance of unique abilities, from Fukuoka, and Kajio, who maxed out the amount of skills a player can have. The page also shows the password codes for those players and their comments. There are also some passwords for those created players and commentary on the builds. The next page is dedicated to Jikyu Powerful Pro Yakyu, focusing on how to develop an exceptional pitcher. It emphasizes being the strongest as a team and the complete support for creating an excellent pitcher. It gives tips on how to improve your pitcher's abilities year by year. In the first year, the focus should be on improving your Coach Hanada's evaluation and focusing on improving your various curveball pitches. And in the second year, it suggests focusing on shadow pitching, raising your control, and increasing ball speed. And in Year 3, it mentions raising the player's ball speed as much as possible. There are also various players who have created unique pitchers, and the password codes to recreate them in the game. The page includes user comments on their unique builds, like a pitcher named Urameshi, who focuses on power and maxing out various abilities. This page features the Powerful Pro Stadium, Temporary, a corner for fans of the Jikyu Powerful Pro Yakyu series. The main feature is a popularity contest to determine the most beautiful woman in the game, titled, "Who is Miss Powerful Pro?" The article describes the intense debate surrounding this topic, and mentions collecting opinions from people on the street. It includes comments from fictional foreign characters with humorous takes on the candidates. Readers are encouraged to vote for their favorite among 7 contestants by sending a postcard with their choice and the reason for their vote to the magazine. The page also includes a section on creating weak baseball players in the success mode of the game, suggesting strategies like lowering ability scores and using specific traits to make intentionally poor players. There's a call for readers to submit their uniquely built weak players to the magazine. The magazine is also seeking reader submissions of drawings and illustrations of strong and weak players. The page announces the next issue of Powerful Pro Stadium, Temporary, which is scheduled for release on June 21st. This page is about a reader-submitted minigame idea competition for 64 Dai Sumo. The winning concept, Big Trampoline, features sumo wrestlers bouncing on a giant trampoline in a TV show setting. The goal is to collect point characters while avoiding falling off. The submission includes detailed diagrams of the game screen, character movement, and scoring system. There are also comments from the bottom-up development team about selecting the winning entry. The winning entry was chosen for its game mechanics. The page also lists the winners of other awards.
The next page presents the results of a minigame idea contest for the 64 Dai Sumo game. It highlights that development is steadily progressing and that the game will be released around the same time as the Autumn Sumo Tournament. New details have emerged. The sumo wrestlers in the game will have different body types, including Anko, larger, and Sop, slender muscular types. The bottom-up award goes to entries with excellent game ideas, with the winners receiving a special telephone card. One entry involved a simple game about tossing straw bags. The Famimaga 64 award is given to entries that the magazine's editorial staff found interesting. The winning entry for this award is a minigame about throwing a straw bag as far as possible. Other entries include Cherry Blossom Scatter, Golden Orca and Race, where the player uses the 3D stick to swim, Foreign-style martial arts fighting, where sumo wrestlers take on various fighters, Hula Dance with Dosukoi, where female characters are thrown, Cushion Takedown, and Big Sumo Song Battle. This page is titled Pokemon Trainer Essentials and introduces the Transl Seed City Pokemon League series. The page highlights that they are starting a new corner for communication battles and showcases an in-game screenshot of a battle between Articuno and Pikachu. The page includes information about the Pokemon League, which started on May 8th on TV Tokyo's 64 Mario Stadium, and highlights that the goal is to find the strongest Pokemon trainer. It also lists the official Nintendo rules for the Pokemon League, which include a team of 3 with 1 controller, 6 different Pokemon in the entry, the use of 3 Pokemon during battle, a combined Pokemon level of 155 or less, and a ban on using Mew. The page also features information about strategic battle tips, with emphasis on predicting the opponent's moves and choosing Pokemon wisely, a section called This Month's Transl, featuring the editor, Pikachu, and Starmie's stats. This page is a reader's data page for Famimaga 64 magazine, focusing on reader rankings. Star Fox 64 narrowly misses the top spot in the rankings. The Legend of Zelda 64, temporary name, remains in first place, with points increasing since the previous month. Star Fox 64 was gaining momentum, but due to its release being after the aggregation date, it lost the number 1 spot by only 5 points. Star Wars: Shadows of the Empire ranks 18th, with expectations for a better ranking in the next issue due to its recent release. The pickup section highlights Turok: Dinosaur Hunter, with the reviewer and game developer Shigeru Miyamoto praising its 3D action and use of the 3D stick. The game features exploring forests and ancient cities, with the main character equipped with various weapons. The page then presents the top 20 in the reader rankings, with games like The Legend of Zelda 64, Star Fox 64, Ganbare Goemon, Mother 3, Pocket Monsters 64, Turok, Dinosaur Hunter, Super Mario RPG 2, Zelda no Densetsu 64, Bomberman, Pocket Monster 2, Zero 64, Yoshi's Island 64, Game to Hacken, Tamagotchi, Rev Limit, Ultra Donkey Kong, Pocket Monster 2 Silver, Kindaichi Shonen no Jikenbo, Star Wars, Kirby Air Ride, and Mini 4 WDGB Let's and Go. The ranking is based on the results of 1,000 questionnaires collected in May. This page showcases reader rankings for various games on the Nintendo 64 and Super Famicom. First up is Doraemon, Nobita and 3 Fairy Spirit Stones, an action game where Doraemon and his friends embark on a 3D adventure. Next is Blast Dozer, an action title where players destroy obstacles. Human Grand Prix, the new generation, is a racing game where players can do detailed settings on the N64 version. Then there is J-League Live 64, a soccer game featuring real J-League players with 8 selectable camera angles. Solid Runner, for the Super Famicom, is a role-playing game where the main character is a detective in the near future, solving crimes. Mahjong 64 is a mahjong game where players attend Mahjong University. Super Famicom Hankaku Mahjong, Tetsuman, is a mahjong game re-released at a lower price. Finally, Dark Law, Meaning of Death, also for the Super Famicom, is a scenario-driven RPG where players complete assigned tasks. The text at the bottom explains that the reader's ranking 97 is based on 1,000 questionnaires, about 60 games released since December 96, across Nintendo 64, Super Famicom, and Game Boy. The ranking indicates game genre,
ratings for character, sound, value, operation, heat, and originality. This page features readers' reviews and opinions on various games. First is Super Famicom Professional Mahjong Warrior, a mahjong game. Reviewers praise the game's characters, sound, and gameplay. However, some feel it lacks originality. 16 professional mahjong players appear in the game with the personalities and styles reflected.
Next is SFC Parlor Mini 5, a pachinko simulator. Reviewers appreciate the overall quality and the inclusion of CR Break Chance V and CR Doranran Ninja-kun. Readers share their thoughts on Real Power Pro Baseball 4 for the N64. They enjoy the training mode, but note issues with controls. One reviewer suggests incorporating player names. The game is praised for its graphics and solid gameplay, with one commenter noting the ability to create and develop their own pitcher. The game features different camera angles. The demo features members of Blastozer. One reader questions the presence of black characters in the Blastozer demo, which led to the reviewer wondering the safety aspects of it. Reviewers also comment on Doraemon, Nobita, and the 3 Spirit Stones for the N64, some finding the controls stiff, but appreciating the visuals. The page encourages readers to submit their opinions. The next issue will cover Doraemon, Nobita and the 3 Spirit Stones, Star Fox 64, Real Power Pro Baseball, G-League Live 64, Human Grand Prix, same game, and Mahjong 64. This page presents monthly sales rankings for games from March 31st to April 27th. Pocket Monsters, Pokemon, on the Game Boy tops the chart, boosted by the anime's popularity, with 252,810 sales. Star Fox 64 for the N64 secures second place with 87,700 sales. Released on April 27th, GQ Powerful Pro Yaku 4, Real Power Pro Baseball 4, for the N64 is in third place with 41,690 sales. Then, Super Donkey Kong 3 at number 4. Other games mentioned are Super Bomberman 5, GQ Powerful Pro Yaku 3 feet 97 Spring, Mario Kart 64, Blastozer, Doraemon Nobita and the 3 Spirit Stones, Game Boy Gallery, Donkey Kong Land, and ITOI Shigesato's Base Fishing No. 1. Super Donkey Kong 3 is highlighted for its sudden rise to 4th place. The page also includes a hardware sales ranking, led by PlayStation, followed by Game Boy, Nintendo 64, Sega Saturn, and Super Famicom. This page features reader submissions, fan art, and letters. The theme is Maniac, with sections labeled R, G, and B. Readers share their experiences, such as attending the Tokyo Game Show and impressions of games like Dragon Quest and others. There's fan art of characters. One reader expresses disappointment that the RGB Maniac section is printed in black and white. Another recounts a crowded experience at the Tokyo Game Show. The page also touches on image colors that people associate with game characters and the impact of game music and sounds. This page is a continuation of the reader submissions and fan art section. The page opens with a new corner called Teach Me, Person Good at Drawing, offering drawing tips from Mr. Shinzen, who discusses the use of materials like pens, G-pen, round pen, paper, and Copic markers. There's a Hearts 1 book section where readers share their favorite games. One reader talks about Samsara Naga, an RPG where you raise a dragon from an egg. The page includes a Monster Maker 2 section, where a reader seeks information about a GB game from 1993. The Supporting Role Forever section features reader-submitted art and comments about supporting characters. The This Month's One Book section shows a reader's drawing inspired by a game and a comment about its impact. Another drawing is from a reader who remembers an old pet parakeet. Other drawings include characters from Chrono Trigger, Romancing Saga, and images of characters from the game Vix and Vosh. This page is a continuation of reader submissions for the RGB Maniac section. A reader shares their thoughts on the importance of empathy in games, citing the connection between the protagonist and dragon in a game as an example of this. Another reader expresses their fondness for character charm, specifically mentioning Lisa from an unnamed game. The Hearts 1 book segment features a reader's heartfelt connection to Final Fantasy IV, particularly the character edge. There's a query about the awareness of
Let's go! 3 Piki. A reference that might be obscure. There are also comments and fan art of characters, including a query about whether Flami from the Seiken Densetsu series is male or female. A reader expresses their affection for a supporting character. Other comments and art feature characters from Romancing Saga 2, and a collection of many smaller drawings of supporting characters. The column closes with a reader's thoughts on playing as the main character in games, and a question about the maximum number of submissions one person can send in. The next page contains fan-submitted content. A drawing of Angela from Secret of Mana is featured, with a comment questioning what kind of game Kirby Air Ride is. There's also a CD jacket illustration of Nami Amuro, which is noted as the original reference. A reader expresses their love for spring and the nice breeze. One segment presents reader-submitted art of characters from various games. There's a comment about how the characters in fighting games are always scantily clad, and questioning if a character's mode changes. Another reader says that they like how tall the character is and feels different. Someone asks if Kevin's size from Seiken Densetsu 3 stays the same. The artwork includes characters like Charlotte from Seiken Densetsu 3 and characters from Final Fantasy. A 4-panel comic depicts the feelings of maniac readers, possibly a parody or commentary on common gamer frustrations. There's also a segment about dishes made with sea eel, and an expression of wanting to eat such sushi. Some comments on the class change with the question of which is better, ranger or ninja. One reader shares a story of an old man, comparing it to a scene from Final Fantasy IV. Another reader shares their impression of the character Angela, and wonders about old games like Gorenja. The page concludes with concerns about a typo related to the character Tina in Final Fantasy Zik. This page is titled RGB Maniac, and features reader-submitted artwork, fan messages, and comments related to various video games. Artwork includes characters from Dragon Quest II, Secret of Mana, Final Fantasy, and other titles. Readers express their feelings about games, characters, and share anecdotes related to their gaming experiences. One reader comments on how Final Fantasy characters look so much better with normal clothes, and shares drawings of such characters. The page also includes sections for fan support, reader-submitted theme artwork, comics, and fan calls. Readers are encouraged to contribute to different sections of the magazine, like Theme Garden or Handmade Corner. The magazine provides an address for submissions. The next page, titled Satellaview Station, focuses on upcoming content for the Satellaview, a peripheral for the Super Famicom. The headline mentions mysteries, fishing, and racing as key themes. The laboratory mystery is teased, featuring a 30-year-old housewife as the protagonist in a sound novel where players experience a strange world. The broadcast is scheduled for June. The page also promotes BSF-02 Practice, an event related to the BSF-0 Grand Prix Sound-Linked program, scheduled for August. June features a monthly event with ranking competitions. The game includes original courses and ghost systems. Winning grants entry to the audio program, featuring commentary by Baki Kiba and a female commentator. A new machine design is shown, with the goal to achieve the best lap. This page of Famimaga 64 magazine continues the coverage of Satellaview content, focusing on the Bass Fishing No. 1 tournament, a spring tournament utilizing the ITOI Shigesato's Bass Fishing No. 1 game. It includes both fishing and trash cleanup. The tournament involves preliminary rounds, and those who didn't qualify can participate in a trash collecting campaign in the game, cleaning up Akahoshi Lake. Participants can win prizes like original stickers and BS-colored lures. The page shows a screenshot of the game, emphasizing the importance of relying on instinct to catch base. It also highlights the opportunity to win an original sticker application postcard. The broadcast schedule for the weeks of May 25-31, June 17th, June 814, and June 15-21 is listed, including games like Derby Stallion 96, Weekly Famitsu Magazine, Wild Guns, Sankyo Fever, Super Bomberman 2, Fire Pro 2, ActRaiser, BS Zelda no Densetsu, BS The Legend of Zelda, Sonic Blastman, and Dr. Mario BS version. The blurb at the bottom mentions that Satellaview is also being broadcast, with a subtitle that remains a play on words. The next page is an advertisement from Famimaga 64 magazine. It features the game Turok, Dinosaur Hunter, for the Nintendo 64. The ad includes information about its release, highlighting that it was already popular in the US and is now coming to Japan. Players can win prizes like a t-shirt with the game. The page also features coverage about Koichi Sugiyama and Dragon Quest, including information about upcoming concerts and the launch of his official website. Readers can win a Dragon Quest II ICD. The ad also showcases upcoming events and goods. This page features a collection of MAME games, small, handheld games, that are popular with gamers. These keychain games are easy to carry around. Bandai offers a series of these, and this article highlights 4 titles available for 1,200 yen each. Bomberman, Go, Go Connie-chan, Jaka Jaka Janken Puzzle, Packy Jr., and Space Invaders. Each game offers a different kind of fun, from puzzle solving to action. The page also features a Mario Kart 64 perfect video strategy guide on VHS for those who need help with the game. The video covers everything from basic techniques to advanced shortcuts. Additionally, the page advertises a Hibarique screensaver for Windows, featuring the characters from the Sunsoft game. The screensaver includes 5 types of animations and wallpapers, and is available for 3,900 yen. The next page starts with news that popular vocalists are releasing a Super Robot Wars CD, featuring themes from past anime with robots. Artists like Ichiro Mizuki and Hironobu Kageyama contribute to the CD, which includes themes from shows like Zambot 3 and Dunbine. The page also features old-school figures, focusing on heroes making a comeback as figures. It introduces the Real Action Heroes series from Medicom Toy, showcasing a figure of android Kikaider priced at 12,000 yen and a Devilman figure priced at 9,800 yen. Also featured are novelty stationery items transforming everyday writing tools into spy gadgets. The Power Pen series from Tomy includes 4 types, each transforming into something different. These include the Multiscope, which turns into binoculars, the Secret Code Pen for writing hidden messages, the Sound Search Pen for amplifying sounds, and the Cybershot Pen that transforms into a light gun. This page features a prize draw for a Neon Genesis Evangelion model kit to celebrate the movie release. 3 lucky winners will receive the LMHG Evangelion Unit 01 transport platform model. It also includes information on some music and book releases. Kayoko Todoku Kana CD, the ending theme from the anime Boys Over Flowers. Mami Kingetsu Tada Koe ga Kikitakute CD. The 6th single from Mami Kingetsu features the song Tokimeki Memorial. Jikyu Powerful Pro Yakyu 3 feet 97 Spring Official Guidebook, a guide for the game for Super Famicom. Fire Emblem, The Best Volume 12 Candelas, a collection of nostalgic songs from Fire Emblem. Spring Has Come book, a novel. Akumaju, Dracula. Ex Geka no Yasukyoku Original Game Soundtrack CD, the soundtrack to the game Castlevania Symphony of the Night. The page concludes with a list of winners from a previous prize draw. This page is a reader survey and prize giveaway for Famimaga 64 magazine. 60 prizes are up for grabs. The prizes are Jiku Senshi Turoku, Turok, Dinosaur Hunter, Yuk Yuk, Troublemakers, Mischief Makers, Mini Yonku GB Let's and Go, Let's and Go, Eternal Wings. The survey asks readers about their school or occupation, age, gender, favorite magazines, and the game consoles they own, and those they plan to buy in the future. The survey also asks about favorite and least favorite articles in the magazine, what kind of articles readers want to see more of, and their opinions on the Nintendo 64. The page includes instructions on how to fill out the survey and mail it in, as well as some examples of incorrect and correct ways to write numbers on the survey form. This page is a return postcard for a reader survey and prize giveaway related to the Famimaga 64 magazine. Readers are asked to fill out their address, name, and phone number, and to indicate which prize they want from the 7. The prizes listed are Star Fox 64, Pro Baseball, Hot Puzzle Stadium, and Kato Hifumi Kudan Shogi Club, and a game called Same for the Game Boy. The next page features a reader survey form. Readers are asked to rank their top 3 favorite games and provide their thoughts on recently played games and the Famimaga 64 publication. The numbered sections from 1 to 18 are for filling in details about the games, and there's a space provided for additional comments. The next page is a feature on Bomberman 64. It's presented as an urgent report from Sapporo, where the developers at Hudson Soft were interviewed. The article investigates how the classic Bomberman gameplay translates into 3D. The article reveals game details from director Hitoshi Okuno and publicist Shinsuke Fujiwara,
revealing game screens promising a world full of mystery and a challenging boss encounter. This page showcases Bomberman 64 and the possibilities the N64 allows. In terms of high strategy stages and 3D puzzles, it features various stages, including snowy landscapes, magma-filled areas, bridges, and minecart tracks. Director Hitoshi Okuno emphasizes that the complex level design, with its multiple layers and intricate routes, and the ability to shift the camera perspective to view the ice floors from below, taking advantage of the system's transparency and water effects, are only possible on the N64. The levels feature enemies in minecarts, ice where Bomberman can slip, and water-filled areas with steps that may become accessible as the water recedes, and switches. The page also hints at the importance of finding emblems within the stages as clues for clearing them, with green arrows indicating the conditions for success have been met. A stage-clear screen with Bomberman sporting a big smile concludes the preview. This page is a report on Bomberman 64 and features new techniques, including the chain kick and charge bomb. Director Hitoshi Okuno mentions that the team has added a new technique called Bomb Tower, and emphasizes that there are more techniques to discover. The techniques include Bomb Tower, which involves stacking bombs high to destroy higher places. Players can kick bombs continuously and charge bombs for increased destruction. The page also shows how to use the charge bomb to lower bridge supports, navigate bridges by destroying bridge legs, and stack bombs to reach cannons and break them. Finally, it shows that Bomb Tower is usable to destroy cannons on stages where there are several of them. The next page is a preview of the boss characters in Bomberman 64. It explains that players will face bosses with attacks from all angles, including bird and deep-sea creature types. Hitoshi Okuno, the director, explains that the normal stages consist of 5 worlds, each with 4 stages, and a boss is always present at the end. The bird-type boss attacks from the air with flames, while the deep-sea boss attacks with water. He also reveals that the final boss battle is a secret. The article also includes some Q&A with the development team. When asked why they named the game Bakuban Bomberman, Okuno explains that they wanted to go back to basics and add a boom sound effect. Okuno also mentions that the game is 60% complete, they are still working on the normal mode, and the team is working on the final adjustments. There is also a question regarding the Rumble Pack, and whether it will be supported. It may be included, but has not been decided as it was making the developers feel ill. When asked about Super Mario 64, Okuno stated that they used the game as a reference for how to use the N64, but that they did not have any particular intention to copy its content. The explosions in the game were made spherical. The next page is a Bomberman 64 preview highlighting bosses and gameplay tips. The bird boss attacks with flames, and getting hit by raft attacks narrows the stage. Bomberman is vulnerable to drowning due to his robotic nature and the weight of his bombs. The Q&A covers gameplay mechanics. Charge bombs can't be thrown far, unlike fire-ups, and players can adjust their placement. Bomberman doesn't speak much in the game due to memory constraints. Battle mode supports up to 4 players. Hitoshi Okuno mentions that new techniques and elements have been added to enhance the game. There is also an advert for the controller. This page is a preview of Power League 64, showcasing its polygon-based graphics and realistic player movements. It highlights the 3D perspective for pitching and batting, the stadium atmosphere during home runs, and Ichiro Suzuki's unique batting stance. The game features dynamic camera angles and even includes a starry night sky backdrop. A brief overview with a release date and price is also presented. The next page is an article on Power League 64, highlighting its pitching scope system that allows players to see the height and type of pitch. It emphasizes the 3D perspective for batting and pitching, aiming for a realistic game experience, with systems to help beginners. The article details how to adjust the swing's height and stance, and how to control fielders with the 3D stick. The game also features updated 97 data, including player transfers. Several screenshots depict gameplay moments, and the player selection screen features players like Kazuhiro Kiyohara. The new Nagoya Dome is also showcased. The next page is an article focusing on the game Ganbare Goemon, Neo Momoyama Bakufu no Odori for the Nintendo 64, showcasing the playable characters Sasuke and Yae. The article highlights the game's acrobatic jump moves and the unique attacks of Sasuke, who uses kunai, and Yae,
who attacks with a sword. It also details the ability to switch between characters during gameplay, including Goemon and Ebisumaru, adding strategic depth. Screenshots depict various gameplay moments, character poses, and transformations, such as Sasuke changing into Ebisumaru with a puff of smoke. This page is about Ganbare Goemon, Neo Momoyama Bakufu no Odori for the Nintendo 64. It shows how the game's story begins with Goemon and Ebisumaru in a comedy routine, leading to a giant peach UFO attacking Edo Castle. The article mentions that conversations in town will be a key part of gathering information. The town stage is said to be almost complete, and players can interact with various characters. The page details the traps and puzzles inside the castle, like falling ceilings and giant horseshoe crabs to jump across. Some areas feature tatami mats and strange dumpling creatures. There are also puzzles involving moving boxes. It also mentions Goemon Impact, where you control impact and destroy obstacles. The page ends with a close-up of Goemon Impact. The next page is an advertisement for Fun Taro, Fishing Taro, a fishing game for the Super Famicom. The page features a large image of a red fish underwater. It highlights key features, such as the game's overall map and basic gameplay system, along with 5 islands where players can fish. The page showcases screenshots from locations such as Tarashi fishing at Sanbondake, Komase fishing at Miyakajima, live bait fishing at Mikurajima, bottom fishing at Inamba Island, and lure fishing at Hachijojima. Each location has a set number of fishing spots and specific fishing methods that can be used. It also states the number of fishing spots, the type of fishing, and bait used at each location. The next page is a feature on Fun Taro, a fishing game, emphasizing its realistic elements. It highlights 3 aspects. The distance of the cast and new fishing spots are displayed, increased point rewards for catching big fish with additional benefits, such as extra hooks, and improved hook functionality. The page showcases gameplay screenshots and provides tips. It explains that catching 4 fish at one fishing spot will unlock new locations. Players can adjust the cast distance using the buttons, aiming for specific spots. Catching big fish earns more points, hooks, and record updates. Losing hooks can lead to game over, but players can acquire more by catching fish or through successful hook sets. It also mentions that fish have individual point values, and records are kept for size, allowing players to compete with friends. The game features real-life locations with detailed backgrounds. The page also shows a table of fish species and their corresponding fishing results, and also some screenshots of the game. This page is an in-depth look at the Game Boy version of Tamagotchi, highlighting new features and gameplay details. The article notes that one in-game day is condensed to approximately 50 minutes, a significant change from the original version. This allows for a faster growth cycle for the virtual pets. The page showcases various screenshots, including naming the Tamagotchi and selecting different eggs. It introduces the check meter, which allows players to monitor their Tamagotchi's status, such as hunger and happiness. A unique feature allows players to determine the Tamagotchi's formal academic name. The page also mentions that the game automatically saves progress, even while the Tamagotchi is eating. Other features include toilet breaks, and indicates power can be turned off to save battery. The article concludes by reassuring players that it's okay to pause and resume the game as needed, emphasizing the importance of patient care. The game is scheduled for release on June 27th and will cost 4,286 yen. The next page is about Tamagotchi for the Super Famicom, detailing its growth and competition aspects. You start by receiving a Tamagotchi, then nurture it. This affects its performance in competitions, with different stages like Kid Gotchi and Adult Gotchi. The game has 2 competition categories, Kid Gotchi and Adult Gotchi, each with 3 events. These events are Tamagotchi Race, Academic Contest, and a Beauty Contest. The Tamagotchi Race is a competition where 4 Tamagotchis race each other, trying to be in the top 2 to advance. During the race, button mashing helps when the Tamagotchi gets tired. The Academic Contest involves solving math problems, with 24 choices. The Beauty Contest judges the Tamagotchi's appearance and charm. You're guided through the process by Professor Banzo, who gives advice. Achieving victory in all 3 Adult Gotchi events unlocks a special ending. The page has helpful tips and hints to assist the user, and mentions that caring for the Tamagotchi requires patience, especially when it's young. The next page is an advert for Parlor Mini 6, a pachinko simulation game for the Super Famicom.
It mentions that Sanyo and Masamura's new machines are featured. The game is slated for release on May 30th, with a retail price of 4,900 yen. The page highlights two main pachinko machines within the game, the new Roadstar and Magical Chaser 3. It describes these machines as being card-type CR machines, and mentions that they provide a realistic experience. The game offers two modes: Strategy mode, where players can thoroughly analyze the machines and understand various aspects like probability and real alignment, and Practice mode, which allows players to customize settings like the exchange rate and recreate their favorite pachinko parlors. The user can customize the machine and also the table from 8 options. The new Roadstar is a 3-reel game that can be expected to pay out 6,000 balls, whilst the Magical Chaser 3 features a digital jackpot. The player can listen to the music of the stage in the new Music Appreciation mode. The page also shows screenshots of gameplay and mentions that there are different reach actions. This page is an advertisement for Super Black Bass Pocket 2 for the Game Boy. The game aims to let players become a champion bass fisherman. The game offers realistic bass fishing with data reflected in the gameplay. Black bass are in places where water plants hide on the lake, so find the points. You will aim for big catches and record them. The page then details some gameplay aspects, such as how to lure a fish, reel it in, and select the correct lure for the situation. The game offers several modes, including a tournament mode and a scenario mode, where you can choose from 4 lakes. The page also mentions a battle mode, where you can compete with friends, and a transfer mode, allowing you to transfer your data from the previous game to continue your progress and try for larger base. The next page is an article focusing on Mini 4 WD Let's Go. It serves as a guide for players before purchasing a machine in the game, covering fundamental aspects. It advises players to buy a Mini 4 WD car first, and then buy parts to customize it. The article highlights that machines cost 1,600 G each, and buying 4 machines halves your money, so it is a good idea to take your time. It presents the player with various models to buy, listing the Monsoon Magnum, Tornado Sonic, Saber 600,000 and Spin Von Goose, with their CL rating at 0%. It mentions how you can change the name of your machine freely. The guide also covers the importance of checking part stats before buying, noting that parts of the same type can have different effects, and it is important to buy a machine and upgrade it with parts like bumpers and tires that are essential to winning races. It recommends focusing on upgrading one machine at a time initially, since the game has a lot of oval courses, making straight line speed very important. The article details the Cyclone Magnum and Hurricane Sonic. The next page is an article about the performance display screen and its use as a setting hint in Mini 4 WD Let's Go. It explains that the performance display screen shows the machine's capabilities, allowing players to switch between part setting screens. By pressing the select button, players can view top speed on straight and curved sections, the stability of the front and rear of the car, and frictional force. Also viewing total power and downforce, as well as motor heat generation and battery consumption. It encourages players to experiment with settings to align with the course type. It advises players to check the numerical values after each adjustment and be aware of how parts affect the car's performance. The article gives examples of setting adjustments, like for the Cyclone Magnum and the Saber 600, and stresses the importance of balancing speed and stability, with max speed being key when swapping out parts and making adjustments. It also mentions how the dash function can be obtained in story mode, indicated by the LG mark on the time display. This page offers a guide for the town in Mini 4 WD Let's Go, suggesting a starting point for building experience in the grass races and becoming the town's best Mini 4 WD racer. The guide includes a map of the player's town, highlighting key locations like the toy store Nagai, the player's home, the school, the grass race park, the jet model shop, the Jet Cup racetrack, and the bus stop to Tokyo. The article advises visiting the Jet Model Shop before participating in the grass races or Jet Cup, as it stocks performance parts. It also describes events starting from school, leading to purchasing a Mini 4WD at Nagai's toy store, then to the home where a parent will test drive the car with you. Also, there is a discussion with rivals, and then the races start to earn money and prizes. The page continues with additional information about races at the school, at Nagai's racecourse, and at the park. This page provides a walkthrough for Mini 4 WDGB Let's Go, starting with how to win the Autumn Cup. The walkthrough suggests a route through the town, beginning with the department store, where upgrades can be purchased, then on to Tokyo Tower for the grass races, and the Mini 4WD Tower to take part in the Autumn Cup qualifiers and final. The Tokyo map highlights locations like Toyland, Ueno Park, the department store, Tokyo Tower, the bus stop, the Mini 4WD Tower, and the speed model shop. It also gives part recommendations, stating that you should try the parts available at the department store, as they are the only ones in Tokyo. The page notes that each part has unique characteristics and risks, so choose carefully. The guide also details the Mini 4WD Tower Autumn Cup qualifiers, which involve time attack challenges on cornering courses. Players must complete the course within 27 seconds to qualify. Also, there is advice for course setting and using downforce on the off-road courses. The page introduces a character, Drive Tsuchiya, who offers advice and requests. Defeating the Autumn Cup is important, as you can get secret parts information from Tsuchiya. Nintendo 64 continues to thrive in America, surpassing 2.5 million units sold. Software sales are strong, with eSports renewing their 5-year licensing agreement. GT Interactive's Unreal and Kemco America's Top Gear Rally are highlighted, along with a robust release schedule for 1997 and 1998, including GoldenEye 007, Star Fox 64, Zelda 64, and many more. 64 sales per title are significantly outpacing PlayStation's, positioning it as the market leader. This page features a preview of the fighting game War Gods by Eurocom, originally developed by Midway. The game is being ported to the N64 and involves characters based on gods. The article highlights the game's 3D polygon backgrounds and character design, focusing on the graphics and character control. The Eurocom feature notes that the graphics and controls are pretty well done. The Killer Instinct Gold camera angles are used to give the game more oomph. The characters' movements seem a bit slow, but it's mentioned this could be due to it being in development. It mentions that the development team say that the movement is due to a special system. The game includes 10 playable gods: Warhead, Kabukijo, Lensi 5, Pagan, Maximus, Alvis, Tuck, Valor, Ahauken, and Voodoo. Each character possesses powerful abilities to completely obliterate their opponents. The game also has fatality moves, similar to Mortal Kombat. Screenshots show in-game action, special moves, and character designs. It is mentioned that if the computer loses, it becomes stronger in the next round. The next page focuses on the action puzzle game Robotron 64 by Midway, noting it has some puzzle-like changes. While keeping the core mechanics, the game emphasizes how to enhance a simple system. One interesting aspect is the slow-motion character movement. The game uses 3D graphics and a quarter-view perspective. The reviewer initially questioned the need for 3Ds in a Robotron game, but acknowledges the potential for visually representing elements like bullet impacts. The development team aimed for a simple game that anyone could play. The page also highlights Nintendo Power's 96 Game Awards, with Super Mario 64 winning first place. Other notable mentions include Star Wars and Killer Instinct Gold. The article notes that the American version of the Game Awards also favored Super Mario 64. Lastly, it mentions that the previously unreleased second-place game is expected to be released in Japan soon. The next page is a full-page advertisement for CCARD communication cards, allowing fans to receive phone calls from popular talents, similar to private calls. The advertisement showcases a lineup of celebrity-themed cards including Naomi Amuro, Naoko Ijima, Yuki Uchida, Kanako Enomoto, Rendran Suzuki, Speed, Asaka Seto, Rairia Tomosaka, Max, and Elisa Mizuki. Instructions on how to use the card are also provided. This page is an article about Doraemon, Nobita, and the 3 Fairy Spirit Stones on the Nintendo 64, introducing Coronaheim, a character who transforms back to her original form and becomes a powerful ally, shooting homing missiles. The article explains that Coronaheims can be unlocked for gameplay by defeating the Demon King. Coronaheim is fast, has good jumping ability, and can fire homing missiles, suggest using her to revisit the fairy spirit world. The page also includes gameplay tips for defeating the Demon King, recommending to attack after the Demon King has fired its weapon and to target the pendant. The next page has tips and tricks for Human Grand Prix, the new generation on the Nintendo 64, including details on unlocking new engines and a hidden car. After completing the World Grand Prix mode, you can unlock new engines by replaying the game and going to the driver select screen, then pressing left or right on the SCOP button allows you to choose different engines for your car,
with 14 types available. Also, after winning the World Grand Prix, a hidden MCM6 type car becomes available by selecting the bottom driver on the driver select screen. The page also shows a data load trick by holding A and B during loading screens. Screenshots show the driver select screen and the driver's points rankings. Finally, there is a section on creating original baseball players in GQ Powerful Pro Baseball 4, showcasing the different players you can make with specific attributes, with characters such as Nomo, O, and Yamada. The next page of Famimaga 64 offers tips and tricks for Human Grand Prix, the new generation, on the Nintendo 64. It covers how to display car names, access hidden engines, and change the number of laps and races. The first tip explains how to display the car names by choosing Contract in the game mode selection and pressing the R trigger repeatedly. The second trick explains how to access hidden engines. You can press left or right on the D-pad and 3D stick to select different engines, with 14 different types available. You can also change the number of laps in a race from 10 to 40, or the max setting. This is done by selecting World Grand Prix mode, then holding the Z trigger and pressing left or right on the C button. Additionally, pressing the Z and Y triggers together will set the race to a minimum of 3 laps. The page also mentions how to unlock Expert mode by choosing the level at the configuration screen. Screenshots of the menu options and car selections are included. This page of Famimaga 64 provides tips and tricks for Blastozer on the Nintendo 64. Focusing on how to progress through the Ebony Coast stage. The page introduces ultra techniques and shows how to use a bulldozer to travel along the railway and bypass a train. By entering the Ebony Coast stage via the main map, you can then use a bulldozer. It details how to go past a train by going in reverse up to the bridge where the train is, and then moving forward to go past the train. Also covered is how to unlock Golden Bomberman in Super Bomberman 5 on the Super Famicom. To unlock the character, you must first complete all 100 zones in normal game mode with a 100% completion rate. After that, the character will appear at the bottom of the character select screen. Lastly, the page gives tips for the Snowy Icefield stage in Super Bomberman 5. It explains that the cracked floors in this stage will break. If you stand on the cracked floors, they will move, but the bomb blasts will not affect them. This page features ultra techniques for various Nintendo 64 games, encouraging reader submissions. Techniques include rocket starts in Blastozers, quick retries and skipping loading screens in Doraemon, scrolling through long messages in Baseball, defeating a boss in Doraemon, and speeding up grid displays in F1. Prizes for best submissions include gold, silver, bronze, and wooden coins, with Famimaga 64 commemorative items. A postcard submission template and 24-hour fax number 022-2137535 are provided. The next page is a full-page advertisement for Studio Ghibli's Princess Mononoke, promoting its theatrical release in Japan during July. The ad features key visuals of San, Princess Mononoke, and a wolf, with film information. The text encourages readers to attend a special preview screening. The next page is a release calendar focusing on upcoming games for the Nintendo 64, Super Famicom, and Game Boy. It highlights titles such as The Legend of Zelda 64, both the Room version and the 64DD version, Pocket Monsters 64, Yoshi's Island 64, and the new Mother 3. The Nintendo 64 section includes games like Turok, Dinosaur Hunter, Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire, Bomberman 64, Sonic Wings Assault, Virtual Pro Wrestling 64, Zero 64, and GoldenEye 007 to name a few. The Super Famicom section lists games like Parlor, Mini 6, and Fighting Ice Hockey. The Game Boy section features Mini 4 WDGB Let's and Go, Super Black Base Pocket 2, Game Boy Wars Turbo, Dino Breeder, Super Beat'em Fighting Phoenix, and a number of other releases. The page also has a guide explaining the calendar's layout, noting that release dates are marked in red, prices are tax inclusive unless otherwise stated, and 13 colors indicates Super Game Boy support for Game Boy titles. A number on the right corresponds to a survey on page 82. The next page features an index of games categorized by platform: Nintendo 64, Super Famicom, and Game Boy. For Nintendo 64, titles include Aero Gauge, Mystical Ninja starring Goemon, Turok, Dinosaur Hunter, Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire, Star Fox 64, Doom 64, Doraemon, Nobita and Three Fairy Spirits, Bomberman 64, Power League 64, Human Grand Prix, Blastozer, Mahjong Haruki Classic, Multi-Racing Championship, Yuki-Yuke, Troublemakers, 64 Uzumo, and Wild Choppers. The Super Famicom section lists Super Bomberman 5, Parlor, Mini 6, and Funadaru. The Game Boy portion includes Game de Hacken, Tamagotchi, Super Black Bass, Pocket 2, Pocket Monsters, and Mini 4 WDGB Let's and Go. The page also previews upcoming titles and reprints, including Doraemon, Nobita, and Three Fairy Spirits for Nintendo 64, Professional Mahjong, Goku Maho 2i for Super Famicom, and Professional Mahjong, Goku Maho GB for Game Boy. A section called Next Issue Preview highlights the next issue's cover game, Troublemakers, and features strategies for Star Wars, Turok, Tamagotchi, Mini 4 WD, and Game Boy titles. This page is an advertisement for the Nintendo 64 game Wild Choppers, a 3D polygon shooting game. You pilot one of 8 different combat helicopters, taking on military terrorists with various weapons and missions. The price is listed as 8,800 yen, excluding tax. This page is an advert for Sega's Wild Choppers, which is described as a cutting-edge combat helicopter game. The advertisement shouts, "Beat 'em down! Be wild, man!" and emphasizes that the front line of battle is right before your eyes. It highlights the game's 360-degree field of view, mission-based shooting, left position operation for realistic control, and real-time camera work for dynamic explosion scenes. The Seta company details are also included with their website address. The next page is an advertisement for the Super Famicom satellite modem adapter Satellaview, promoting the Super Famicom Hour, which can be caught on Satellaview. The ad invites viewers to participate, stating, "It's not too late. Recruiting participants." The broadcast dates are May 25-31, airing nightly from 7 p.m. Special guests include Shigesato, Itoi, Yuwa Kawabe, and Kyoko Koizumi. The ad also showcases Itoi Shigesato's Bass Fishing #1 game and the Satellaview system, which retailed for 18,000 yen. It provides contact information for Nintendo customer support and lists their website.